Okay, so this is my poetry project. And basically what we did is that throughout the semester, as we were taking notes, we compiled them, and then we basically were supposed to cut out from our notebook or from our what we typed out to create this kind of collage effect. And so what I did is I took quotes that I heard from class and I put them on here, as well as I wrote my own original writing and poetry and I put it on this poster board. And then I just wanted to let everyone know that I handpicked each and every one of these pictures. They all mean something different to me. And then I also picked out the font, how big it would be, and the whole placement kind of came together in a very interesting and intuitive way. And so what I wanted to let you guys know about and describe is that, well, first of all, I fit these different quotes all around the frame of the poster board. And I did this because I had so many words, and I'm like, what would be like one of the best ways to use my space? And so I put all the sentences to frame the border of the poster board, and it was interesting because they just stuck. They just fit. Like, I didn't even have to try. I just put them down and they fit. The only part that I had some struggle with was on this side, and I just had to figure out a way to fit them in, but every other side, it just flowed. And so we come to this, and I worked from the bottom up. I remember being very deliberate, trying to figure out the best way to maximize the space, right? And then I also have images, and like, how am I going to fit the images on top of all of these words and paragraphs? And I didn't even realize this until looking at it afterwards. Like, check out this ellipse shape that just naturally was created. And then if you look at it this way, it also could look like an ellipse that way. So I thought that was very beautiful and very poignant. And as I was looking at this, a lot of what I wrote myself is kind of gravitating towards the middle. And then the pictures, let's talk about the pictures. So we have peaches because I talk about peaches in some of my writing. And I have the nose that goes towards smelling the peach. I have different like body parts on here. I have the eyes. I've always liked eyes. And then the ear is by like music and dance, where I talk about music and dance. And then the lips is right by where I talk about lips. And then a really cool thing that I did was different Easter eggs. There are 5 fireflies. So there's one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're each pointing in different cardinal directions, and I didn't even mean to do that. And that's really cool. And then there are also 5 stars. There's one here, there's one here, there's one there, and then there's one up in the corner, and then there's one over. Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay, just right there. And then I also have 5 dancing figures, and I picked those because I mentioned dance, and I just like the movement, and I chose to have everything black and white specifically for a reason. I like this sketch aesthetic, and I wanted everything to look cohesive in that it all looked generally in the same style of drawing. So that's why I did that. And I chose blue because it's kind of like a sky, and that's kind of how I felt. I wanted everything to fit within like a sky kind of frame of like a night sky, or it could be a midday sky. It's whatever you feel it to be. And then the fountain represents something they talk about with the fountain. The person writing is basically all about like creation is around it. The window, and then I also have the sun and the moon. And then this image is kind of like a dreamscape of a figure with a hot air balloon. I just liked it. Sometimes you just pick things because you like how it looks, right? Okay, and then let's look at some of the writing here specifically. So, it's a mix of quotes and original writing, right? And I was quizzing my parents and like, which ones do you think are what? And a lot of the original writing they thought was a quote, and then vice versa. So everything just fit in that essence. And then I'll just read some of what I wrote. It is better done and said by me, after all. At the end of the day, we are in company with no other than ourselves. The sun will always rise, and the moon is your eternal friend. Or was it enough for the experience, that is? So we come to the age-old question, is it better to have loved and lost, or to have never loved at all? Perhaps we are all more similar than I realize. I think I'll keep eating peaches, not for the chase for what once was, but for the simple pleasure of a peach. Its only purpose is to be eaten, so I will choose love. I've never eaten durian before. And what's interesting is that there's two poems that I wrote that were cut in half. And it's interesting the way that I put them, because that's actually the second half of this poem. And if you were to read it like logically, you'd do the other way. And then this poem about running out of the color red is the same way with those two poems. And let's see here. Yeah, just the way I fit the quotes, sometimes they fit better vertical, sometimes they fit better horizontal, sometimes they fit better at an angle. It's just whatever felt right. Like, this work that I've done is really just what felt good. And then, let's see, I'll read the other part of the peach poem. If you were to eat the most delicious peach, juicy, full of aroma, and then the next one you ate was utterly rotten, you would quickly spit it out in disgust. Would you recall the delicious or rotten peach next time? Or perhaps you have sworn off peaches completely. What an utter disregard. Or perhaps you will search for it in your coming days of certain intensity to find that perfect peach once more. Maybe you would grow your own tree. If only you weren't so daft to toss that pit away. Was it worth eating that peach knowing that you would never taste one like it again? Maybe it's time to taste a plum instead. Even if I taste 1,000 peaches, it will never be that one. Would it have been better to not taste that peach after all? And then for the I've Run Out of Red poem, I'll do it from beginning to end. When I run out of red, I use blue. But the sky wasn't blue that night. No, it was a crimson hue, exploding with violets and pinks, that sunset view. And the color of your lips and blush. Red. I've run out of red. The sky will be sunny with a clear blue sky, with clouds passing by on the 4th of July. Then I'll pick up the blue paint and trace your lips. So there's that. Creativity or destruction? Let's give it another go. This force is magnetic. Which pole did I fall under today? This force is powerful. It's a giant wave crashing on the shore, reaching its destination in bounds and leaps. The force of eternity stirs in every breath, lasting even longer than death. Goes to show the innovativeness of the creative spirit. The dreamer never lacks dreams. Sleep, maybe, but never dreams. Alive and well in the bloodstream. Don't let another beautiful moment pass you by. My words have lost their meaning, so I will go on living, to taste the waters of insight, to truly understand the human condition. And some of these, just like the one I just read, was actually part of a larger poem, but that specific part made the most sense to add to this. And then the last thing I wanted to share before I end this is that I hid a specific quote, and I'll show you how it goes. So right here, let's see. A hidden part of your psyche wants to be included right here in your creation. So I played on the very sense of that quote and hid it throughout the creation here. And so poiesis as a word means the act of creating. It's a Greek word, I believe. I might be wrong, but or Latin. It's one of those. But basically, poiesis means the act of creation. And that is what I have done here today, everybody. This is my act of creation right here. And I am super freaking proud of it. Alright, so that's it.